Tonight, Mayor Jacques Roy spoke to the city about two major issues facing Alexandria, the recent redistricting debates and the city's utility turnaround. Our Davion tells he has the details on what he said and why he believes both reflect careful management and planning.
And any statements I make and anything in the veto message can be backed up.
At Friday's mayoral briefing, the mayor focused on redistricting. Roy defended the 2024 maps after the city council failed to override his veto of an ordinance that would have returned the city to its 2022 boundaries.
Some people are offended by the politics of redistricting. It doesn't offend me unless it violates laws, unless it's racially discriminatory or whatever. It's just part of politics. It's what every congressional person does for their district. Every state legislator does this all the time. But you were told a few things that need to be corrected.
Roy says there's no evidence that the new plan is unfair or racially biased. He argues that population data shows minority representation stayed the same or even increased. According to him, the criticism is driven by politics and not legal concerns.
In the case of District 3, which is the Perry district, the African-American majority under the Felter plan is greater than under the Perry, Larverdane, Davidson Porter plan. It's preserved more as a majority minority district. That's a fact. How do you argue that? The RAPC admits it. We can all look at the numbers. You can look at the board.
He also noted that the new maps protect key communities like the Garden District, City Park, South Alexandria, and the Park District, while the alternative plan would have split neighborhoods and removed a sitting council member from her district. The mayor said public feedback also supported his decision. While a few residents spoke against the 2024 maps, written correspondence he received from the community overwhelmingly backed the veto.
Letters I've received from at least the Garden District area within that district, I'm sure there's some outside of it, but certainly from there, we're all in favor of the veto. I've not received a written letter from a voter saying, I want the Perry, Larverdane, Davidson, Porter plan. I've not received one.
He concluded by noting that Alexandria's current maps have already been used in the election, reinforcing the principle that voters, not politics, determine representation. Meanwhile, he says the utility system remains strong, financially sound, and ready to support. In Alexandria, for News Channel 5, I'm Davion Tell.